Welcome to DWeb Decoded. I am your guest host today, Danielle Dubervac, and I am joined by Isabelle Castro, who just launched a new Substack, which is exciting, Utopia and beta. So I'm excited to get into that. We'll cover trends you're seeing, things you think are missing from the narrative, and then we'll end with how builders can work with media effectively. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me on.
All right.
I'm excited.
Great. So why don't you tell us about Utopia in beta and what you're covering and what topics you're looking at?
Yeah, so Utopia in beta is kind of a progression of what I was working on for Digital Frontier, another magazine that I just left. And it focuses on the emerging tech that are coming out, the innovations, and also the conversations around that emerging tech, and kind of interrogating how it intersects with society and how the reason why it's called Utopia and beta is because a lot of these emerging techs are developed with the idea that it's going to make the world better. And the whole focus of the Substack is to kind of work out the effects it's having, the potential it has, and also maybe where it's having negative effects as well. So yeah, that's what it goes into, yeah.
And what technologies count as part of emerging technology?
Honestly, all technologies work. I personally I'm really interested in Web3. So a lot of the focus is that, but also AI. I mean, you can't really talk about tech without talking about AI these days, but it's more what I've looked at in the past is kind of AGI and the potential of AI and where it's being developed to, some of the conversations that are being had within that development. But really anything can work in emerging tech.
True. Anything can count as emerging tech. To that point, what do you think is missing from that conversation, and maybe more specific to Web3 and crypto, but it can be more broadly? What narratives do you think are being missed or people aren't talking about enough?
I think there's a lot of narratives that are being talked about but aren't being publicized, maybe about kind of like the thought processes behind what is being developed. A lot of the noise at the moment around crypto is on price action and also scams and rug pulls and all this kind of stuff, but not a lot the focus is kind of being diverted away from the kind of fundamentals and what a lot of people have gone into crypto for.
Yeah.
And yeah, people will say decentralization, but then won't actually kind of like go that far into it, or why decentralization? Why do you want privacy? All of these kind of stuff. I mean, it's a given, but I feel like there's a lot more of a conversation that can be had around that and the implications of whether we get that or not. And then another thing that I've spoken about before in other kind of interviews that I've done, but cybersecurity obviously affects us a lot. Everyone knows that it's good. Like, there are issues with cybersecurity. It's getting worse. Like, malicious actors are really bad. But it's not. Someone said to me when I brought it up before, they were like, "Oh, it's not a very sexy subject. Like, it's not very. People don't really engage in it, but it's so important, and it's going to be more and more important as more of our lives go online. We have more AI integrated into our lives. And so these are conversations that have to be had in order for us to kind of safely develop with these amazing technologies.
So taking a step back, you were most recently with Digital Frontier, where you were covering a lot of Web3 topics. What brought you into that space originally? What got you interested in it? And tell me about that sort of origin story.
So yeah, my first steps into Web3 was, I used to work in the art industry. I was a project manager with kind of big scale project in the UK that was in collaboration with the Arts Council England, and through working in that industry for quite a few years, I realized that it was really exclusionary, and it really depended on the access that you had to the people in charge, the people who made the decisions, and whether you had the opportunity to talk to those people. So it kind of put me off that whole industry, so I went away. I did something different. And then during COVID, a lot of people in Web3 came over. I was running a cafe at that point, and I was the front of house, so I would talk to them, and they told me about amazing Web3, all this decentralization and stuff like that. They told me about NFTs, and I was like, oh, this could actually revolutionize the art industry. So I came up with an idea for something that could work. I didn't know any coders at that point, so nothing came of that idea. But what it did do is kind of expose me to writing about crypto, and then I got a job as a freelancer for a fintech publication and events company, and it kind of like grew from there.
Great. Definitely an unconventional path a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense, but it does when you look back at it.
It all led you here.
Yeah, exactly.
Switching gears, as a journalist and looking at the media landscape more broadly and talking about these technologies, something that Filecoin cares about as the largest decentralized storage network is media preservation and, the urgency around link rot and media stories disappearing or going down online. We recently worked with the Defiant to store all of their articles on Filecoin to preserve them. So my question to you is how you're thinking about literally the media business and landscape and the technologies you write about and how they can support the work you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's a super interesting area, and I know that there are quite a few journalists looking into how Web3 and journalism can work together. As of yet, aside from one or two projects, I haven't seen it done in an effective way, but it can, I think it's going to be so important, one, for the whole link rot and kind of stuff being taken down. I know, the first publication I worked for, they went through a bit of bankruptcy, and I was really worried that my stuff was going to get taken down, and that's part of my portfolio, so what was I going to do then? It didn't, they got acquired, it was fine. But yeah, this is something in the back of your mind if you put a story out there and you want to reference it. And it's important as well for kind of us in the future to look back, and what if certain stories just get deleted or just don't exist anymore? Whether that's just because they got discarded or intentionally got deleted as well, which is another whole thing. But yeah, I think it's going to get super important. I did talk to this company not that long ago, which is just starting to kind of build their product, but they are also looking into Web3 as a tool for kind of collective intelligence and kind of verifying whether the facts that are in articles are true, or whether they're a little bit shaped by certain people, certain actors trying to kind of shape the media. And it's kind of using the collective mind and proof of personhood and all this kind of stuff to verify that an article, the facts in the article are true, and they're not misinformation or disinformation or stuff like that. I think that could be a really interesting application as well as the kind of storage part. So both of those are two things that do need to be looked at, and I think Web3 has a real opportunity to solve them as well.
Yeah. So as a reporter and writer, when it comes to how builders in the Filecoin ecosystem or in the broader Web3 ecosystem or their PR counterparts, how can they best work with you to stand out?
Okay. I get a lot of PR pitches. So one, it depends on my frame of mind on the day.
Whether you've had coffee yet.
Exactly. No, but like apart from that, something that would act as a straight delete would be someone who hasn't looked at my work and done, I mean, I get it. Like there's so many journalists, there's so many pitches that you've got to go out. So it's difficult, but sometimes I get pitched by stuff that I've never written about at all. And it's just kind of like, no, this is going to get deleted straight away. So what I look for in a good pitch is like understanding of what I've written before, but also an interesting take, you know, like a unique take that isn't just, oh, we've done this funding round, look at us, it's amazing. Or just putting buzzwords in, like decentralization, which I love decentralization, so no shade on decentralization as a thing, but like if you're going to say decentralization, like don't just put the word in there, like do an idea that kind of shows the decentralization or the thought process behind it and why and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I get that each pitch does already take a long time to do, but you can tell when more effort has been put into it or more time has been put into it than other ones. Yeah.
So need to show that they know what you cover, they know who they're reaching out to, like generic, you can spot it right away. And then being able to explain those buzzwords. If you're going to use the word decentralization, be able to back it up and show it. What about narratives or companies in the emerging tech space that are doing a good job of this, are doing an effective job of sharing their story or doing well in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, Filecoin is great because also you guys pitch and talk about a lot of different topics that aren't just Filecoin. You know, like as a company, it's like the adjacent ideas around it. So that's really good. A lot in the deep in space, actually, they tend to be better at kind of talking about what they do and why it's important. I mean, it's a great thing to be working within, so it makes sense. But specific projects, I mean, none like spring to mind like as just out of the blue. I like to have pitches, but I tend to come up with the ideas and then reach out to people who I've heard, like I've received pitches from and something has sparked my attention. So, yeah.
So when it comes to working with you specifically, you're usually the one reaching out and sort of, especially now in your new capacity, you know, you're not getting handed down a story to cover, you're seeking those out and reaching out to people.
Yeah, that's actually another point. Like, I really appreciate pitches, because I do it that way, I really appreciate pitches when it's talking about ideas rather than the company itself.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like broader, and it means that I can be kind of like, I saw this in the news, that's interesting. I remember a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, someone from Filecoin, for example, was talking about it. I'll go and see what they have to say about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it could be a good idea to reach out around ideas people have, maybe unconventional takes or where they have expertise, and then even if you're not responding right away, you may look back and reference, like, I'm going to write about this, let me search my inbox for who might have reached out about that before.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things, just before I left Digital Frontier, we were there and I was talking about starting a Substack, and we were talking about Substacks, and I think for a lot of journalists, having that stuff in your inbox, whether it's a pitch that is talking about an unconventional take or an idea, and then Substacks, of course, that becomes a knowledge base that you start to kind of go into your inbox and you use it like as a search, like you use the search as kind of a Google. And yeah, so just having it in the inbox is a good thing, and it's just kind of a process of osmosis kind of thing. Like it comes into our brains, and we will go back on it at some point. But yeah.
Okay, good to know. So in closing, how can people follow along with your new work and reach out to you?
So Substack, you can subscribe. At the moment, I don't have a paywall on. I just want to get it up and running. I've got some ideas of where I want to go pretty soon. So that's Utopia in Beta on Substack, and then my email is isabelle@utopiainbeta.com as well. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Isabelle, for joining us on DWeb Decoded.
Thank you.